Hi, this is Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. It's going to be my review of the Crossbreed, what they call the chest rig, a chest holster for pretty much any firearm. I've got it here with the Springfield Armory XDM Elite 10 millimeter. And really the first thing you'll notice about this holster is the smell. It smells like that saddlery leather smell, like at King Saddlery in Sheridan, Wyoming. That's what it reminds me of. I mean, that's the first thing I noticed when I opened up the box and pulled it out of the bag, was that saddlery leather smell. Even out here with the blooms on the springtime flowers, the fragrance flowing through the air around here, I can still get a whiff of that, the bouquet of saddlery leather from this holster. Also has these very elasticy straps. They're not very, they're very slightly elastically, they're not like solid non-stretchy nylon, just a little bit more stretchier than that. So I think that helps make it extra comfortable, but it doesn't feel like that's gonna like stretch out and become all slack and loose. So seems to hold it in place pretty good. I'm going to continue on my ride here today out in Wyoming, and every time I'll stop every so often and add a little bit about this holster. We're also going to see today if the pistol stays in place, stays in the holster while riding over the rough terrain, and with the typical riding style leaning forward a bit, that puts maybe a little more at risk of popping my pistol out. So of course for that reason, though I do have a full mag, so it has a full weight, I am running an empty chamber today, just so that in case this falls out, I don't want to do the test of an accidental discharge if it's not drop safe. Pretty sure it is drop safe, but if it does drop out, we'll check and see if the striker indicator has fallen. Now it does, like I said, does smell really good. This is what they call the Founders version, which has that more of a saddle leather color to it. The standard version is going to be black, and they both smell awesome. I happen to have received the black one first from Crossbreed holsters, and they sent the right-hand version, which I want left-hand, or going that a little bit later, why I specify left-handed. Once you're ambidextrous, why you should carry and present left-handed. But anyway, they both smell great. The black one smells great, and the Founders version smells great too. It's just that this has a little more elegance to it. It's just a little more handsome, I think. Okay, that was a really gnarly descent and gnarly ascent. Steep, rough, rocky, loose, technical. Pistol did not fall out, so I think if it's gonna hold my pistol while mountain biking, you're probably gonna be fine if you're out hiking with it. This does have a retention adjustment. There's a screw underneath it, and it creates spring-loaded tension on the trigger guard underneath here. And so you have the combination of that, plus if you tighten down these screws that press the Kydex shell against the leather backing, then that's also going to add some more tension to it as well. And I don't have it really all that tight, and it stayed in just fine. One thing as far as the adjustment I'm a little bit concerned about is these screws here. It goes into the backside where you've got the vented padding on the backside that's covering up what I presume are like blind nuts that have like the little teeth on them that are digging into the leather. So whereas normally I would probably run some Loctite on these, or thread locker, I think on these I probably won't do that, because I don't want to risk the thread locker holding too well, and then if I want to adjust or loosen or take this off, causing those blind nuts to rotate. It has metal buckles, or metal adjustment rings here, these little aluminum, I think they're aluminum metal rings here. And then of course we also have the buckle. The main buckle is, I believe, stainless steel with aluminum ends on it, and it's very robust, very secure. So very solid, seems to be pretty good retention, and it's pretty comfortable. I mean, this is a fairly heavy pistol, loaded up with 11 rounds of 10 millimeter. It's fairly heavy, so still pretty comfortable to carry today on a mountain bike ride. Although with that steep climb here, I could have done without the added weight, I guess, especially carrying camera gear and stuff on my backpack. So let's proceed on with our ride today, and we'll discuss some more features of this holster. Okay, so I really like the holster, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't find something to nitpick on it. And so I'm going to pick a couple little things here. One is there's just a little bit of a gap as far as the trigger, covering the trigger and the trigger guard. I would like that to be just filled in just that little bit more, so that there's no way a little tiny branch can somehow fish its way in there, yank the trigger back and blow my arm off or something, you know, and manage to also hit the grip safety all at the same time. So a lot of, you know, bad things have to happen, but why not just make sure that trigger guard's covered? Now the cool thing is another thing is I might like to see the magazine release button on this protected. And the reason I say might is because normally that's one of my big concerns, is accidental disengagement of the magazine. So, you know, if a branch were to hit that really hard, it could, you know, drop that magazine, and that ends up on the ground, and you end up with a pistol that has, in this case, no rounds in it, because I'm testing it to see if in case it falls out today. But if you had a round in the chamber, that's the only round you're going to have with you once that magazine drops out, unless you've got another magazine. Now, the reason I say I'm a little bit hesitant on that is that I kind of like that I can actually, you know, eject and insert a fresh mag pretty easily. So I could, with it holstered, pull a mag out and put a fresh, you know, fully topped off mag in. And that's another cool thing, is it is positioned on here firmly enough that I can actually, you know, tap that magazine in forcefully. So that's kind of the two things. One is that's a little more coverage on the trigger guard, and maybe coverage on the mag release. Although ideally, what would really solve the whole accidental disengagement of the magazine is if this XDM had a paddle magazine release, like say the H&K VP9 or the Walther PPQ M1 Classic or the Keltec P17. The paddle magazine release being pretty much immune to accidental disengagements due to hits, you know, direct onto the side like that. But this, to the Springfield Armory's credit, this magazine release is pretty well protected, and it does take a little bit of, you know, effort to press that button in and eject the magazine. Now, as far as the magazine release, of course, with this pistol, it's fully ambidextrous, so it has a button magazine release on both sides. And so the button magazine release is actually on the inside, where, you know, if that leather had come out further, would be at risk of depressing the mag release button and dropping a magazine out. So it's kind of cool that the leather does not extend out. See, the mag button is about right here, and there's your leather piece. Mag button's about right there. So it's pretty well protected because it's elevated away from the body with this leather, and then also the ventilated padding on the back side of it. So that mag button is well clear of my body. I mean, I'd have to have a pretty gnarly crash on my mountain bike to press that so hard against my body that it ejected the magazine. And then, you know, Springfield Armory should make this a paddle magazine release, and then we're really golden on that. And the cool thing in the Springfield Armory XDM Elite, the way the mag release works on this, it actually it's really could be set up very easily to be switched to a paddle magazine release, which, being from Croatia, I'm kind of surprised they haven't, you know, adopted the paddle magazine release for this. I mean, they sell them over in Europe with the same button magazine. So anyway, let's continue with our ride. Okay, I found myself a little bit of shade. Might be wondering, why ain't he sweating if he's riding so damn hard? Well, Wyoming is a very dry climate, so by the time I get my tripod set up, audio set up, camera set up, I'm all pretty much dried off. It's all evaporated. So I have been sweating, I promise you. Now, why do I advocate left hand primary carry and initial presentation? I have a whole separate video on this. I'll include a link down in the description if you want to just see it repeated, but I'll cover it here. And this is especially for those of us that are going with the XDM 10mm for like going into bear country or something when you're hunting. One is if you're like many people that are out hunting are using a four-wheeler or a motorcycle to get into the backcountry. That leaves you the ability to still operate the throttle and front brake on your motorcycle and still draw the pistol. So if a bear shows up while you're riding your four-wheeler, you can, you know, bam, 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 left-handed. And I demonstrate this also on my mountain bike, to draw and fire left-handed while still operating the front brake and my other, gear shifting controls on my mountain bike. So that's one reason. Another reason is that if you're sitting in your vehicle and you've got your seat belt on, that puts the seat belt, your shoulder harness, right across here. So it's out of the way, and now you've got a left-hand draw, and you can point shoot out the window if you don't want to shoot through the front windshield, which is an advantage of the 10, is it's going to go through that front windshield with a certain amount of authority. Another reason to carry left-handed is typically for the events leading up to drawing your pistol. You're going to injure your strong arm, and for 85% of people, that's going to be their right hand. So up to the events that you're going to actually use your weapon in self-defense, it may be that you have punched or have fended off a knife, and this hand may be injured, or maybe that trigger finger has had the tendon sliced and it's no longer working. So left-handed, this is the hand most likely to be free of injury. The other reason is if you're in law enforcement, that puts you at a better angle for traffic stops as far as approaching the driver's side door during a traffic stop. So the angle on the door left-handed is several degrees better than right-handed. So again, once you become fully ambidextrous, where it's just unconscious, your eyes can pick up the sights either left or right-handed. Left and right eye can pick up the sights. And I have a whole video, how to become an ambidextral gunfighter, link again down in the description. And so that's why I insist on left-handed. Now there is one other reason to carry and present left-handed, and that's for you, those of you heading up like to Alaska to do some fishing for salmon out on the rivers there, and you're in bear country, and you've got that expensive fishing rod. Now of course, what you should be doing if a bear approaches is, drop the fishing rod. It's no longer relevant to the situation, but I know it can be hard to get that mindset to just chuck an expensive fishing rod. So you can still fish, fend off against bears with your left hand while you're still fishing with your right. So I highly recommend the chest rig holster by Crossbreed. It's their chest holster. Now there are other competitors. I think Gunfighter Inc. Also makes a chest holster, and I think it's Stealthwear also makes a chest holster. I just really like the look of this, what they call the Founders leather on this. It looks really nice, and it has a nice vented padding on the back. It just looked really sweet. Now let's just say you get a holster like this, whether it's this one or one of the other manufacturers, the competitors. When you go to a public gun range, you need to pay particular attention to how you make use of your holster. At a public gun range, we're going to pretend here that you are my target. That's downrange, and there may be other shooters to the left and right of me. So if I were to just stand here looking at the target and draw my pistol out right here, I am now muzzling the dude next to me. Probably not going to be too happy about that. I know I would not be. So downrange, before you draw your pistol, turn 90 degrees, then draw your holster, keep it muzzle down range, and like that. There you go. When it comes time you're done firing, ready to holster the pistol, what I do is I put my thumb on that striker indicator. That gets me a gap between my palm and the trigger safety, or the grip safety. So by moving my thumb to the striker indicator right here, I've now freed the grip safety. Okay, so now I've done that. So now I rotate around 90 degrees, keeping the muzzle down range. I pull this arm back, like just behind me, like Napoleon or something, and bring the pistol in, holster, hands off. Now I can rotate back facing downrange or do anything else you want to do. Now I went over this kind of ad nauseum in my video on my test protocol, which featured this holster and this pistol. And if you haven't seen it, I'll throw a link down in the description. I thought it turned out pretty cool, but I did kind of hammer this whole, you know, grip safety thing. I wanted to make sure, you know, muzzle down range, turn 90 degrees, holster. I wanted to drive that point home, and I did it, I think, pretty well without speaking about it, but now I wanted to talk about how to safely use a chest holster, and at least that's my version of how you should do it. There may be others, but I think that's the way to do it. I know if I'm the dude standing over here and I'm drawing it out like this, yeah, not going to be happy. So 90 degrees, draw, aim, fire, bang, bang, bang. Thumb check the striker indicator on this holster, or if you just don't have it, you have another pistol, just, you know, thumb check the striker plate, and hopefully you have a grip safety. Grip safeties are nice for that holstering. I really like the grip safety for the holstering safety. That grip safeties are great for, like, if you're holstering, you know, appendix, and so you can, again, thumb check that striker indicator, the striker plate, freeing up the grip safety. So that's another layer of protection, you know, prevent an accidental discharge when you're holstering a pistol that way. It's Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.